Members, good morning. There is a quorum in the room. I call to order the meeting. We are using the request to speak system today, so after you are seated, please do not change your seat. Item 1, information paper issued since the last meeting. Since the previous meeting, the Secretariat has issued no information papers. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next meeting is scheduled at 9:45 p.m. on the 26th of May. There are 3 items. Item A, raised by Dr. Johnny Ng, amend the members' bill to amend the Hong Kong Baptist University Ordinance, Cap 1126. The item is a provisional item because we are still waiting for Dr. Johnny Ng to complete the relevant procedures. Second, students' mental health, students' guidance service and related manpower and resources. And 3, vocational and professional education and training and development projects of the Lift and Escalator Technology Center of the Vocational Training Council. Do members have any views on the proposed items for the next meeting? There being none, I remind members we have 3 items today. 2 are funding proposals. So if you can, please remain in the meeting room for all 3 items. Item 3 is enhancement and empowerment of teacher and administrative manpower in public sector schools. I refer you to paper CB Brackets 3601 2025 Brackets 02. Just now, Dr. Choi Yuk Lin, Secretary of Education, and Ms. Lee Wai Ping, PAS Professional Development and Training of the Education Bureau, have been seated. If you would like to speak, please press the button. Now, this item has been on the list for many years. So we have set aside sufficient time for this item. This is an item close to many members' hearts. We are all concerned about the wastage rate of teachers and also the professional development for teachers and also manpower in schools. Secretary, ready when you are. Thank you, Chairman. A professional and conscientious teaching force is the key to the success of education in Hong Kong. Now, with the development of Hong Kong and the country, and also the latest trend in education, we have been stepping up resources and manpower for schools, enhancing the professional capacity of the teaching workforce, and increasing multidisciplinary collaboration to nurture a favorable environment for Hong Kong's education to move forward and contribute to building a leading country in education. On enhancing teacher professionalism and optimizing manpower provision, in 2019 and 20 school year, we have implemented the all-graduate teaching force policy in public sector primary and secondary schools in one go. We have also strengthened middle management. Starting from 2020 to 21 school year, we have been enhancing the manpower arrangements of deputy heads in public sector secondary and primary schools and senior teachers in public secondary schools to enhance the administrative standard of schools. We have also enhanced teaching manpower. Starting from 2017 and 18, the teacher-to-class ratio have been increased by 0.1 across the board, and we have created about 2,200 additional regular teaching posts. Now, this year, the overall teacher-to-student ratios in public secondary and primary schools have been enhanced to 1 to 11.4 and 1 to 11.8. Now, starting from 2019 to 20 school year, we have been providing a special educational needs coordinator in all public sector ordinary primary and secondary schools. Now, for secondary and primary schools, concerning the number of non-Chinese speaking students they have enrolled, they will be given grants for strengthening support for NCS students. Now, to promote STEAM education, we have been providing flexibility for schools to attract talents of their own. From 2022 and 3 to 2024 to 5 school years, 8 primary schools may employ STEAM teachers on their own. And also in 2025 and 6, we have enhanced the native speaking English teacher or NET scheme so that schools may opt between retaining the existing NET posts or receiving a new NET grant. On enhancing the management and manpower planning of teachers, starting from 2022 and 3, we have started updating the compilation of the electronic register for registered teachers to collect and update the list of registered teachers. Now, the data shows that the teaching force has been stabilized with a reduced wastage rate. Every year, the number of newly recruited teachers joining the force for the first time was much higher than the number of dropout teachers with retirements is recent. It shows a healthy and sustainable education ecosystem. Now, starting from 2021 and 22, we have started establishing the professional ladder for teachers and also set training frameworks and requirements for newly joined teachers and promoted teachers. Now, for these teachers, as well as in-service teachers, we have organized mainland visiting tours to allow these teachers to understand the latest developments of the country, to support them better implement national education. Now, for newly appointed principals, we have been providing professional development programs for them to enhance their professional knowledge and their leadership skills. Now, for different priorities, we have been offering thematic supports and training. Now, starting from year 2024 and 5, we have been offering professional development program for junior secondary Chinese history teachers not majoring in history to enhance their capabilities in teaching Chinese history. Now, for SEN students, we have been providing structured training programs for serving teachers. In year 2024 and 5, we will increase the number of thematic teacher training workshops organized for teachers to help them support students' mental health needs in schools. Now, in the triennial planning with UGC-funded universities, we will review the overall demand and supply of teachers and also the sustainable development of teacher education universities and meet the relevant needs. We attach importance to caring for teachers' mental health. Now, in 2024 and 5 school year, we have launched the 4 Hours Mental Health Charter. Now, besides helping schools to implement mental health policies in schools, we also require schools joining the 4 Hours Charter to pledge to join the Mental Health Workplace Charter. To encourage schools to create an inclusive and friendly workplace environment, we also established the Teachers Helpline to support teachers in coping with stress at work and mental health problems. To commend and recognize the contribution of teachers, in 2024 and 5, under the Chief Executive's Award for Teaching Excellence, we are adding the Award for budding teachers and the Award for Education Innovation. To support the administrative work of principals and school teachers and release room for them to pay attention to core teaching skills, we have been implementing the one executive officer for each school policy starting from 2019 and 20. We have also been dispersing the IT staffing support grants to all schools. We have also enhanced the deployment of school-based educational psychologists and social workers to schools. Chairman, education is the key to nurturing talent. We attach a lot of importance to education. Despite the structural decline in school-aged population and also fiscal challenges, we still commit to our promises. Now, from the long-term development of education and the overall interest of society, we will continue to invest resources to meet the needs of society, enhance school manpower, and also drive support for students' growth with a spirit of whole school participation. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. As mentioned just now, we have 3 items on the agenda today, so we need to keep the time well with all of you. Members, have we all pressed the button? Because I have to keep record of the time. There are 12 members right now. They are Reverend Peter Kuhn, Mr. Tang Fei, Dr. Teck Chi Yun, Mr. Benson Look, Mrs. Regina Ip, Ms. Lam Chen Sing, Dennis Leung, the Deputy Chairman, Chi Kwok Keung, Professor Priscilla Leung, Ms. Lilian Kwok, Professor William Wong, and myself. 12 members altogether. I will give you each 4 minutes, questions and answers included. Please keep to your time. Reverend Peter Kuhn. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, as we all know, with an aging population, we lack educators in Hong Kong. Many serving educators are of older age. Now, would the government consider deferring the retirement age for teachers, especially principals, to 65? it is very difficult to hire experienced school heads. Now, people at 60 years of age are still capable of work perfectly. Secretary, concerning retirement age for teachers and school principals, some 8 years ago, we conducted a comprehensive consultation exercise. And we have consulted the public about this idea. At the time, we proposed to extend the retirement age to 65 years old. Now, together with the civil service, teachers and school principals for public sector schools have had their retirement age extended to 65 years old. Because of various reasons and the decline in the number of school-age children, we realized that by extending the retirement age to 65 years old, it is not necessary, but the plan is already here. Secretary, it seems that for a direct subsidy scheme school, there is not a retirement age for teachers. Yes, that's right. Reverend Kuhn, the situation 8 years ago was very different from the present. In between the period, many teachers have emigrated. We have a serious shortage of manpower at the management level, including at SGM schools. Now, when we have hired a capable person to fill these seats, they are usually at their 50s. If they are required to retire at 60, it would be a huge loss for the schools. There should be a mechanism where the school sponsoring body can approve an extension of retirements for the candidates. We will look at the statistics and we will review the policy where necessary. Mr. Tang Fei. Thank you, Chairman. The paper has very rich contents. I think we should enhance the teacher to students ratio even more. Now, in the mainland, there is a requirement for a deputy head in school to steer the I&T development of the schools. Now, according to the paper, it seems that STEAM education is being divorced from the management. Now, in terms of steering the STEAM curriculum in schools, can we link the promotion of deputy heads and principals with I&T and STEAM training? Now, paragraph 11. There is a program mentioned in relation to national and international education development. Now, I'm very interested in this program. Many local teachers are focused on their own work and they don't understand the strategies at a macro level. Two questions. So for the National and International Education Development Program, I will defer to my colleague. In terms of deputy heads, starting from 2021 and 22 school year, we have added many places for deputy heads. Now, for schools with 28 classes, we have added 30 to 40 posts. For 30 class schools, we have added the number of deputy heads to 15. So for middle management and panel heads, we have enlarged the manpower deployment significantly. They don't have a specified role in terms of STEAM or IT and so on. With an overall increase in manpower in middle management, schools can better implement the new policies. introduced by the government. So back in 2021, over the territory, we have added 2,050 promotional ranks or promotional posts for deputy heads. Now for STEAM, we can have one of the deputy heads from the senior management to take responsibility for STEAM development. Concerning the program, I will defer to my colleague.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. As for local educational policies and initiative and the courses, well, this is one of the core subjects that teachers who are going to be promoted will have to take. It's offered by universities lasting for 3 days. They will cover the latest policies, issues, and also internationally recognized education policies in other countries. And so these newly promoted or soon to be promoted teachers will be given an introduction on the international trend and local trends in educational policies. Mr. Teck Chi-Yuen, thank you, Chairman. As you can see in the paper, the Education Bureau has been doing a lot to promote the teaching workforce. And many suggestions from the professions have been accepted by the government, which is good. So we're talking about manpower development first, but now everybody is talking about AI. And in the education sector, AI is also an important part of the education for students. We have a system to manage people. Perhaps it's time to consider how we can adopt AI in education development. I'm very concerned about SCN. There's a lot of room to improve in SCN education, such as teacher training, and also using AI for data analysis, and also devising individual educational plans. And we're also concerned about mental health, and also the manpower management team should try to use the new technology. So AI will be helpful in enhancing education qualities. Well, I have only got a few people working in my office, but we use AI for a lot of tasks, such as data analysis. So I would like to know more about the use of AI in schools. And what are the plans of the government, and what is the future direction in this regard? We are also concerned about mental health of not just students, but also of parents and teachers and principals. You have a 3-tier response system and the 4-hour scheme. There are many counseling staff, such as counselors and also university-trained counselors. They can be involved in the 3 level of response plan of schools. Understand the schools are given the freedom to engage these people, but schools may not be very knowledgeable about their availability. Perhaps you can provide some leadership in introducing these professional counselors in managing mental health in school. So we have professionals in the community, and on the other hand, we need to do more on mental health in schools. And given that teachers already have a very heavy workload, so perhaps we can try to bring the 2 sides together in schools. Maybe we can, the Secretary can share with us your ideas about this development. The first issue is the application of AI. There are 2 areas. First of all, we need to learn about AI. Secondly, we should use AI in school administration and teaching. We have coding courses starting from senior primary classes. And AI is also a key element in science education. So there is an independent unit on AI in science curriculum and in senior secondary courses. We have also included AI elements in the contents. So we're following very closely with the latest development in AI. As for the use of AI in school administration, as the member has said, it's used for data analysis, it's used for catering to the needs of the student with special educational needs, and there are special applications using AI that schools can utilize. And also it can be applied in different curriculum and different courses. And also AI can be useful in doing some clerical duties. In the future, I will step up education so that schools can be equipped with more manpower who are knowledgeable and who can use AI. On the mental health of students, I would like to highlight a few points. We adopt an open mind about how to go about this. Mental health is not a simple subject. It's not a question of learning about mental health. Students are facing pressure from different sides, such as schools and parents. And individual students differ in their circumstances. So we cannot just rely on one particular type of professionals. If we see a new trend developing in the community, in the professional sector, and then if it's considered useful for schools in handling mental health issues in schools, they are free to use the special grant to engage these people to help them. Mr. Benson, look, I refer Chairman to paragraph 10. For new students, it said that the number of new teachers outnumber the teachers who have left. But the relevant figures are not set out in the annex, perhaps. So the first question is, can you provide the figures in relation to this? And also, if we look at the figures, the numbers, according to the paper, in 2024-25, in public sector, primary and secondary schools, we're going to see a total of 44,000 teachers. In the annex, we can see the wastage for the past 3 years. Taken together, it's more than 11,000. So it's quite a big number. I mean, the teacher who have left. It's good that we have new blood joining the ranks of teachers. But if we want to maintain a quality teaching team, we need to have middle rank teachers so that we can enhance education quality and to avoid a failing the succession plan. We know that the healthcare sector has introduced new measures to retain people, such as low-interest loans for home purchase, etc. So will the Education Bureau consider launching new measures for retention, such as offering more allowances or fringe benefits? And on the question of retirement age, I understand the Bureau would review the case in a timely manner, but perhaps you can adopt a more flexible approach, make reference to other professions, so that you can engage retired teachers to work for a specified period of time, so that we can make the best use of our teaching resources, our teachers, especially principals. I will talk about the number of new teachers outnumbering the number of teachers who have left. we can give you the figures. We have 2,000 new teachers, and for retirement, there's a certain number for 2022. I will supplement the figures later. We are saying that the new teachers are outnumbered the number of retiring teachers because we have created new posts. So we are recruiting not just to fill the vacated posts, but also to fill the new posts. We mentioned that we have already introduced additionally 2,000 teaching posts. As a result, we are seeing more new teachers joining the education sector. We have increased the establishment for teachers. This is meant to reduce the workload of teachers. And we have also introduced support for administrative work and also to cater for special education needs and development needs. We have educational psychologists, social workers, and allied professionals to help teachers. This can also reduce the workload on teachers. And we have executive officers who can take away some of the burden from the teachers in administrative work. And for senior and middle management posts, we have created more posts. As for the retention of principals, etc., in 2020-2021, we have increased the employment benefits of principals for primary schools. They get 5 additional increment points in their salary scales. All of these will help us retain people in the education system. Mrs. Regina Yip, I am grateful to the Education Bureau, which tells us that the government has invested a lot in education since, when the previous CE was sworn in, $5 billion were added to the budget. Whether we're talking about SEN, special development needs, and teachers, we are going to expand more resources. But there's no KPI. As I stated in the letter, in my previous letter to the Bureau, well, our ranking in international assessment has declined. As for language tests for teachers, the passing rate has not improved, both in Chinese and English languages. We want to contribute to building a leading country in education. Well, but we are not seeing actual improvements. Now our teachers are graduate posts. When we were students, many teachers were graduates of the teachers' colleges, such as Rothkopf. So why are we adding more and more posts instead of a teacher doing something? We are doing this in the form of teams, when we cannot just add more and more resources and do nothing about their performance.
Thank you, Mrs. Yip, for your questions. With more resources, we can not only alleviate the stress and burden of teachers. With the development of society, there is greater need to enhance the STEAM and AI curriculum. And globally, youngsters are facing more mental health issues with more complicated societal situations. That's why we need more manpower. That's the reality. Now for KPI, there are some work that we can quantify. But in education work, there are tasks which are hard to quantify. How many points can I raise in test results with one additional teacher? It takes time to nurture a student. Now, with more counseling and guidance services, a student's performance in a certain area may improve. So for targeted services for, say, students with autism spectrum disorders and other specific help, we can see immediate changes in the students' behavior. In terms of an all-graduate teaching force, in our days, there were very few university graduates and professionals. Now the situation has changed. The entire educational attainment level of the working force has elevated. Many parents themselves are high educational attainers. That's why society has a high aspiration for the professional image of teachers. Allow me to interrupt. STEAM is not something new, and as mentioned in my letter dated the 1st of April, there are a lot of teachers having inappropriate relationships with students. This is highly concerning. With a higher salary package, why aren't the principals holding these teachers to account? Now, the language test is not for the entire teaching force. It's just for teachers aspiring to teach in language subjects. So that's why we are relying on the national Putonghua test and IELTS of English. There is not another separate test for language teachers. Secretary, I also agree with Mrs. Regina Ip's suggestion. I know you are very busy, but can you engage a third party to conduct a research on the effectiveness of the additional funding? How effective is the funding in enhancing the standard of the teaching force? Now, because of time, there are still 9 members waiting to speak. So I will draw a line after Ms. Lam Chen Sing has spoken. Ms. Lam Chen Sing. Thank you, Chairman. Now, according to the paper, the wastage rate of teacher has improved. However, according to surveys, for teachers having served them more than 10 years, 2 or 3 years ago, the wastage rate was very high. The teachers who replaced them were junior teachers who have only served 2 or 3 years in the teaching profession. So despite the improvements of the wastage rate, there was a wave of resignation from more senior and experienced teachers, and they were replaced by less experienced teachers. So did that affect the teaching quality? And how can you enhance the capabilities of newly joined teachers promptly? Second question, we have a fiscal deficit, and education is one of the 3 major spending areas. As mentioned by the Secretary, there is structural decline in the school-aged population. At the same time, we are increasing the number of teachers. Now, we have a fiscal deficit and we have fewer students, but why are we adding more teachers? Is the utilization of resources rational? And are you just trying to increase or enhance the teacher-to-student ratio? Now, when teachers are snowed under by administrative work, can we alleviate their burden by simply adding more administrative posts? That may save some money. So the paper calls concern whether we are still adding more resources to train more teachers despite the declining student population. Secretary, thank you. The first question is about how we can ensure the quality of the large number of newly joined teachers. Now, as mentioned in the paper, for newly joined teachers, in-service and promoted teachers, we have set up training over the past few years. For example, we have set up core training modules. For management, there are also training courses on their leadership skills and coordinating skills. Second, the decline in the school-age population, and we are still adding more teachers. Now, back in 2017 and 18, we have introduced an across-the-board increase in teacher-to-class ratio by 0.1. That would enable schools to cater for the differentiated needs of students better. And as I mentioned, based on the circumstances of individual schools, we allow flexible deployments of resources to cater for the needs of their students. So we hope the schools would utilize the flexible resources wisely, which have been granted to them since year 2017-18. Mr. Dennis Leung, Deputy Chairman. Thank you. Over the past few years, the government has increased spending on education in terms of enhancing manpower and other resources. However, many things have happened over the past year. For example, the Taixing, the primary school in Wong Tai Sin, and the Rosary Hill School incident. It shows that there have been poor management and administration by school sponsoring bodies. So how can we enhance the administrative prowess of school sponsoring body to respond to society's aspiration? There should be more marked results in terms of students' development and teachers' quality. We need to quantify the improvement in students' quality, especially in their STEAM knowledge, by enhancing the quality of the teaching force. Second question, in the approved establishment of teachers, there are still non-graduate teachers. Now, the number has decreased over the past few years. Now, for these non-graduate teachers, was it because that there were simply not enough openings for them, or was it because the school did not implement the government's policy seriously? That will also affect the quality of the teaching force in Hong Kong. Thank you. Secretary, Chairman, the first question raised by Mr. Leung was that in face of a declining student number with insufficient enrollment, some schools have done a poor job. That includes failings on the part of the school sponsoring body and miscommunication with the school management and parents. Well, in our training modules, there are thematic training for school sponsoring bodies. Now, from the news report today, you can see that we have imposed a new requirement on the financial reserve for even private schools. So, with experience learned from various incidents, we are now helping schools with difficulty in enrollment transition better. Now, after the policy of all graduate teaching force has been implemented, close to 100% of non-graduate teachers have obtained a bachelor degree. Now, for some teachers, for example, teachers close to retirement age or teachers specializing in very special subjects, there are still some gap. But overall speaking, we have achieved an all-graduate teaching force. Mr. Chu Guoquan, I'm the chairman of a relevant labor union, and I'm also a school head. Now, I recognize the government's efforts to step up training for middle management and also enhancing manpower. Now, the wastage rate has been on the decline, and also the number of newly recruited teachers outpace the wastage. But we shouldn't just look at the numbers. In the past, many of the teachers who left their posts were experienced panel teachers and even deputy heads and school heads. A principal told me that more than half of the English teachers have left in one go. Now, for newly joined teachers, they are usually less experienced. Some of them have not undergone sufficient professional training. So how can we meet the gap? Are there any learning circles among teachers for experience sharing? Another point, the paper has ignored the needs of administrative staff, including clerical assistants in schools. There are 1 or 2 clerical assistants in school. They are responsible for keeping the budget of the whole school, but they only get $10,000 to $20,000 in salary per month. So it is very hard to hire a competent candidate for these posts. Secretary. Chairman, the first question was about the wastage rates of teachers. As I've mentioned, when a teacher resigns, they do not necessarily leave the teaching profession. There are many teachers who change their job to another schools. So for these cases, they are also counted as part of the wastage. In terms of training, we will step up training, including experience sharing circle. Now, in fact, for primary schools curriculum coordinator, there are training and experience sharing sessions over the territory. For clerical assistants, especially those who are responsible for the accounting of the schools, we are aware it is very difficult to hire a candidates to fill this post. The difficulty is not just in the salary package, because you need the candidates to have accounting skills. Now, some schools don't have a very clear record on how they utilize their grants. So it would make the job of clerical assistants more difficult. Now we are trying to integrate the grants for schools to make the job easier. Many school sponsoring bodies feel bad for the clerical assistants. They know they have a very difficult job, but they are not allowed to raise the salary package for CAs. So can we cut some spending for other teachers and add to the salary of CAs? Now, actually, there is an administrative grant for schools to flexibly deploy them to various uses. Secretary, allow me to interrupt. Now, I have been appointed a member of the school sponsoring body for a secondary school recently. Now, the CA in my school has to sign off more than 200 checks every month. So I agree with Mr. G. We need to review the situation. 200 accounting items each month. I'm amazed that the candidate is still remaining in the post. Professor Priscilla Leung. Thank you, Chairman. I joined electrical in 2008, and I joined the panel on education right away. I have been concerned about the declining population back then because that was the global trend. Now, compared with the retirement age in the judiciary, there has been a long debate, and then it was extended to 65. First, will you offer some flexibility to exemplary teachers for them to remain in their position until 65? That would be better for the school. Second, extension of retirement age is the trend. After 2019, we need to face the reality that there was a large number of teachers who have moved away from Hong Kong, and there is a gap in the teaching force. So is there a cross-departmental task force to address this issue? We are attracting high-caliber talents, so can the dependence of these talents fill the shortfall in enrollment number? Now, is there a long-term plan to address the issue? Now, 10 years ago, we only had a 5-year plan. Now the situation is exacerbating. So what are we doing to address it?
憲法基本法
Secondly, with regard to national education and basic law and education courses, apart from mainland study tours, are you going to provide more so-called soft teaching materials? Well, in universities, in my university, we have a series of production on different themes with regard to the Constitution, and especially controversial subjects and interest on those subjects, on those issues, are particularly keen among students. Do you have such teaching materials with you? On retirement age of teachers, as I've said, we would have regard to the actual circumstances and conduct reviews. At the present moment, we believe that the supply is sufficient, and we have looked at the number of teacher education undergraduates. We're talking about interdepartmental collaboration to help you cope with the shortfall. Well, our mission to build a leading country in education is something interdepartmental in nature. We have looked at the aging population and the low birth rate and the decline in student population. And as for teaching material, we adopt a multi-faceted approach. We have videos and clips in addition to print material. So they would cover subjects which are presented in a livelihood related approach. Can you also use new apps such as TikTok in teaching so that they would be able to understand the issues more comprehensively? Yes, we are indeed adopting a multi-pronged approach. Ms. Lilian Kwok, I understand the government has introduced new measures to improve the teaching environment, but now we have a decline in student population, and some schools had to be closed down. So we've been talking about small class teaching all the time. We want to see an improvement to the teacher-to-student ratio so that the needs of students can be better taken care of. And if the student population continues to drop, then according to what are you going to do about the declining students? Some teachers have told me that they cannot even field 2 teams of football players, each with 7 players, because of the dwindling numbers of students. The number of classes has to do with the pay and remuneration of teachers and principals. Can we do away with this linkage? We can look at the teacher to class ratio instead of the number of classes. Sometimes you can have a combined class involving two classes, but actually administratively you still have to involve all the teachers in your reporting. Maybe we can allow the teachers to teach a combined class so that their expertise can be better utilized, so that we can provide quality education. We can improve the low achievers' performance and enhance the performing students' results. We are seeing a relatively smaller teachers population in certain subjects, such as science subjects. Perhaps we can involve outsiders in the teaching, and they should be involved in the teaching together with the school's own teachers. And then thirdly, mental health. The Education Bureau has been doing a lot for mental health in schools. But what about teachers? If you can provide counselors in schools who are not just there to take care of students, but also to take care of teachers, and you should introduce a simplified 3-tier system in schools so as to better cater for the needs of students. You have 1 minute, Secretary, to respond. For small class teacher, the teacher to class ratio is 11.8 in primary school, 11.4 in secondary school. Well, the schools can deploy manpower in a flexible manner. As for computer education and whether we can involve non-teachers from outside, well, actually, the schools can, if they find it necessary, to procure courses from outside their schools or manpower in delivering the educational programs. As for mental health and the assistance, as I've said, we cannot rely on just one type of professional people to help. Mr. William Wong, I have a question with regard to paragraph 8. The government says the Bureau allows schools more flexibility in the recruitment of talents with a different expertise. For example, schools can exercise flexibility for employment of students having expertise in STEAM-related subjects through assistant master's vacancies. Are you going to formally create graduate posts for STEAM teachers? As for personal data, the PDPO has introduced a framework with regard to data privacy protection when AI is utilized. Perhaps you can provide some guidance to schools on this issue. And thirdly, I would like the Bureau to consider creating a deputy headmasters responsible solely for coordinating the use of AI in schools. The Secretary, the first question is easier. On the flexibility of employing STEAM teachers, well, these teachers are graduate teachers, so the posts are already there. But we are now allowing them to engage STEAM teachers without formal teacher education. As for the guidelines and for use of AI, they will be updated. They're already there and will be updated periodically. And also we have to increase the number of deputy headmasters in schools for different issues. There is flexibility in deploying the different duties of the deputy headmasters. There can be a deputy headmaster for AI, for example. Mr. Michael Tin. Well, it's a coincidence. I will be introducing a motion debate on the rapid development of AI and also the teachers' education in schools. We have been told that there will be courses for STEAM-related subjects, and there will be 24,000 teachers in 2025. How many of them have received training in this regard? As for on-the-job training, I would like to ask a question about the education universities. Have they incorporated the use of AI in education in both primary and secondary schools in all the education universities courses for upcoming new teachers? And then there's a more thorny issue, more difficult issue. The teacher trainings will be devised by the tertiary institutions. But do they really understand AI in education? Have they been in contact with the cutting edge technology? For example, Mr. Liang Wenfeng, who's the developer of DeepSeek. Many people want to see him, but he's always not available. And I believe no one will know what's happening in the education sector. And Secretary, whom have you contacted over the future development of AI? So we don't know. The academia cannot get in contact with the professionals. So how can we make sure that our development will be timely and in line with the overall trend? The first question is about the new teachers and how many of them have been receiving training in AI. We have 44,000 teachers. All of them have basic training in the use of IT. But of course, the teacher training involves many subjects for subject teachers in primary schools and also AI or IT related subjects in secondary schools. We are training a few thousand people, a few thousand teachers per year. The provision level will be reviewed regularly. If there is a change in demand, we would take care of that. And also we provide training for other subjects. How many of those teachers have been taught? 5,900 teachers in secondary school and 650 in primary schools. Teachers have been trained in AI-related subjects. And we have asked tertiary institutions to provide teacher training courses in AI and other subjects such as SEN. Do you know that the courses in the education universities will incorporate AI in their teaching contents? Well, AI is a very wide subject. Just like when we were trained as teachers, we will be told how to use a whiteboard or a blackboard. I've talked to some leaders in the AI sector, informal context. We understand that maths and science subjects will be the important foundation for the teaching of AI. AI is developing very rapidly. So we won't be teaching a particular model because this will change over time.
AI.
But I wonder, do we have any elite AI professionals in Hong Kong? It seems that all the AI elites are in the mainland. Now, to be fair, Mr. Michael Tian, not just DeepSeek, there are quite a number of prominent AI programs in Hong Kong, I declare interest. I am a member of the computing faculty in the CTU. I will talk to you after the meeting. Next, Dr. David Lam. Thank you, Chair. Two rather technical questions for the Secretary. Paragraph 6 in the paper. Now we can see that's the per student unit cost for primary and secondary school students in 2020, 21, 2012, and 13. It was 49,000 and 44,000 respectively. In 2025 and 24, it has risen by twofolds to $99,000 and $87,000. The increase outpaced the increase in GDP in the same period. So is there any forecast for the future per student units cost? And like Mrs. Richard is said, with more money put in, do you have the KPI to justify that? Now for other professions, for example, the school-based educational psychologists, how many schools in Hong Kong has one educational psychologist in school? Now, over the past few years, because of the increase in manpower, the per student unit cost has risen to $99,000 and $87,000. Since the introduction of the new secondary schools curriculum, the per unit cost has increased significantly. And also, we have increased the remuneration package for teachers, and also we have involved more professionals, including educational psychologists. The ratio was originally 1 to 6 schools in Hong Kong. Now we are seeking to enhance the ratio to 1 to 4. So besides the demand, the supply situation and the quality of the supply is also important. Now what about the rise in per unit cost? Will the increase be moderated in the future? Now we are now at a consolidation phase. Another reason for that is we have a higher number of smaller schools. Now there are grants allocated on a school basis. Despite the fewer number of classes in schools, we still need to offer the grants to those schools. That's why it also increase the per unit cost for students. Now with the situation stabilizing, it will be moderated. However, for important fields like AI, we will still spend where we need to spend. Thank you. I'm the last member in the first round. We have seen a lot of movements in the establishment of teachers. Of course, some have emigrated. Some may think that this is a personal choice and it may not be a bad thing for the teaching profession. At the same time, we need to have confidence in junior teachers. Everyone has had our junior phases. So we shouldn't put too much burden on the in-service teachers. I'm rather concerned about the teachers who were disqualified because of ethnic issue. 99% of them are registered teachers. So how can we ensure the quality of programs for registered teachers in universities? Can we enhance the mechanism of monitoring the teaching quality of registered teacher programs? Second, about mental health of teachers. Starting from 2006, the EDB has set up the Teachers Helpline. Can we have a figure for the usage rates of the Teachers Helpline? How can we offer more targeted support for teachers to cope with stress at schools? Thank you. I agree with the chairman that we need to have faith in the less experienced teachers because they are very passionate. we will step up training for them. And also for middle management, I think there must be a promotional ladder there. If we extend retirement age, then it may affect the promotional prospects of younger teachers. For disqualification of teachers, the chairman said that we may need better communication with the training bodies. In fact, we have a very clear training framework. One of the components is professional ethics. So besides teaching capabilities, we have also organized many seminars and talks in terms of nurturing the values of teachers. Now about the teachers helpline, we have received 409 inquiries last year, and we had to refer 3 cases among them. I think there should be a mechanism when training bodies discover ethical issues among students, they need to report these cases. We have high hopes for our future teachers, and training bodies and teaching bodies are very important. If they are hiding ethical issues for their students, it may be problematic. We have a very high standard for soon-to-be teachers because society as a whole has very high aspiration for the teaching profession. So if there are any ethical issues during the training period, then they will not be able to register as teachers, not to mention being disqualified. So those who get disqualified are students or teachers who have already registered. I think the mechanism should be targeted as the training bodies. If they are aware of ethical issues and they keep the information away from the Education Bureau, that would be problematic. We can't let any black sheep pass the gate. We do have a mechanism to review the performance of the training bodies. Thank you. Second round, this is the last member to speak, Ms. Lillian Kwok, 1 minute. I'm just declaring my interest. I am a teacher in the establishment, so I am an interested party. So besides, I have some follow-up question on Mr. Michael Tian's question. Now, AI training for a teacher, what is the average hour of training for each teacher, and what is the content? Please give us the supplementary information after the meeting if you don't have it right now. Secretary, now training hours depend on the actual needs of the teacher. Some are basic courses. For teachers who are responsible for teaching AI, they will get more advanced training. So for those teachers, they would get at least 30 hours in training. Thank you, Secretary. Chairman, 10 seconds left for me. So 30 hours, is that enough? I think we need to consider whether that is sufficient. And also the contents of the course. So can we have a written reply after the meeting? Yes, you can have access to these information on our training schedule. And of course, 30 hours are not sufficient. We need to enhance the training on AI for teachers. Now, these teachers are very passionate about AI. The time they spend on studying and learning AI would far exceed 30 hours. But we have to consider whether that would be too much burden on these teachers. Thank you, Secretary. Next item. Item 4, a public work item. Capital Works item, 3369 AP, a 30-classroom primary school at Site E2, development of Anderson Road Quarry Site, Sai Kung, and reprovisioning and redevelopment of substandard school premises. Paper CB brackets 3601 2025-03. This is a capital works project according to rules of procedure 83 brackets A. If you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest on the item, you need to disclose the nature of such interest before you speak. I declare interest. I'm a consultant to an educational body. Now, in attendance of this meeting, we have Dr. Jeff C., Undersecretary for Education, and Mr. Andrew Ngan, PS for Infrastructure, International School and Statistics of the EB. Good morning, Chairman and members. We plan to construct a 30-classroom primary school at Site E2 development of Anderson Road Quarry Site, Sai Kung, for reprovisioning of Po Leung Kuk Lok Hing 2 Primary School in the same district. Now, the Anderson Road Quarry Site development project is a new development area in Tseung Kwan O and Sai Kung. Now, the projects will be delivered in phases starting this year. Now, there is a distance between Sai Kung and the existing school. Now, to facilitate learning of students in Sai Kung, we propose to build a new school premises with a site area of 5,530 square meters with 30 classrooms. Now, we propose to allocate the vacated school sites to the Lok Hing 2 Primary School in the same district. Now, the Lok Hing 2 school was built in 1988 with a premise of 2,900 meters square in size. Now, despite meeting the standard, there is a lack of additional space for infrastructure upgrading for the school. Reprovisioning is the most effective way to upgrade its facilities and improve its learning and teaching environments. Now, upon completion of the project, the facilities of the Lok Hing 2 Primary School will meet the standard of that for standard 30 classroom schools. Now, we have consulted the Sai Kung District Council and the relevant Education and Health Committee. The committee supports the reprovisioning plan. Subject to the approvals of the plan by the panel, we will seek the endorsement and funding approval of the Public Works Subcommittee and the Finance Committee. With funding approval given, we will be able to complete the projects within 3 years. And also, in terms of our efforts in reprovisioning schools which are substandard, there are some 900 public schools which were built according to the then standards. There are some 200 schools which are built according to the modern standards. We have been seeking to improving the learning and teaching environments. Now, schools built according to earlier standards are smaller and lack additional space for infrastructure upgrade. So reprovisioning is usually more appropriate compared with in situ upgrading. Now, with the declining student population, we will focus on reprovisioning and expansion of existing schools. That will avoid causing additional enrollment pressure on existing schools, and that would be a more efficient way to utilize existing land resources. Now, before kickstarting reprovisioning or expansion work, we will consider factors like the district's student population and also the latest student forecast according to the government. We will also pay attention to the existing education policies and other factors which affect enrollment figures. Now, starting from 2017, through the school allocation exercise, we have allocated 22 sites for schools for expansion or reprovisioning of school premises. During the same period, there were 36 projects with funding approval given by the Finance Committee. These are mostly reprovisioning or expansion projects. When we have identified that there are new sites or available vacated sites for reprovisioning purposes, under a fair and transparent mechanism, we will issue public invitation to all school sponsoring bodies in Hong Kong for application. Now, we will prioritize teaching quality as a major consideration, and we will also consider the track record of the school sponsoring body and also the existing situation of the school premises. Besides expansion and reprovisioning, we also enhance teaching facilities in schools through various means. For example, the 5-phase school improvements projects and also minor upgrading projects for schools of older standards and also improvement projects for matchbox schools and also air conditioning installation for older schools. Now, through annual maintenance projects and also regular projects, we also provide support for schools to upgrade their facilities. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
副局長，咁有意發言嘅
Thank you. Undersecretary, members who wish to speak, please press the button first. Because of the time constraint, I will propose that every member be given 3 minutes for their questions and also for the answers. Members who have pressed the button are Ms. Lilian Kwok, Dennis Leung, Mr. Kenneth Leung, Mr. Lam Chun Sing, Mr. Chi Kwok Keung, Dr. Priscilla Leung, and I myself. Ms. Lilian Kwok, Luk King To Primary School is quite good. It's in Cheung Kwan O. And then the reprovisioning plan will allow them to go up the development ladder. We have on that estate, and we are beginning to see buildings being built there, and it's rather crowded in terms of the sites. If we have more schools and everyone will be using the same road when they go to school, have you asked the transport department how you can handle the traffic there? Or can you ask the schools there to coordinate their school hours so as to ensure smooth traffic? Thank you for your support for the plan to reprovision Luk Hing To Primary School. When the new campus is completed, there will be parking spaces for private cars and school buses. So there will be no need for roadside parking when they take students to the school, and it's believed that local traffic will not be adversely affected. And we have asked other schools. We have asked the existing P1 and P2 students, because they will be going to the new school when they reach P5. Some 92% of students would use school bus or use public transport or walk to the new school. These students knew in advance when they apply for admission that the school will be reprovisioned in Anderson Road Site. So parents and students are prepared for this. And we've asked the different schools there to use a staggered school hours system to avoid traffic congestion. We asked the schools to take students to schools in their school buses during different hours so as to avoid congestion. Well, it's already a very chaotic situation because there are other schools. I hope you will pay more attention to this problem of crowdedness and traffic congestion. Mr. Dennis Leung, although Anderson Road Site is considered part of Sai Kung, but actually is separated by a hill. Actually, this school would take students from Lam Chin and neighboring areas. So the reprovisioning would involve moving a school from Cheung Kwan O to a site near Kwun Tong. So Cheung Kwan O would lose one DSS school. Would this change results in the provision of DSS school places for Cheung Kwan O. So maybe the new school would admit more students from Kwun Tong and Nam Tin. So what is the Education Bureau's assessment of this? This project used to cost 400 and 500 million. And this time it seems that it's something like 400 million. So you have been managed to control construction costs. What have you done to ensure that it's cost effective? Well, this school belongs to the administrative region of Sai Kung and not Kwun Tong. With regard to the reprovisioning of this primary school, well, this is a DSS school. It can admit students from all over Hong Kong. All along, Looking To Primary School has been mainly admitting students from Sai Kung. Some 70% of the student population are living in Sai Kung. For the current P1 and P2 students, they will be moving to the new school in Anderson Road Quarry Site. They will be mainly from Sai Kung. In terms of the student numbers, in this academic year, notwithstanding that there will be a provisioning plan, most of the applicants for admission are from Sai Kung. So when this school is moved to a site closer to Kwun Tong, would that result in a drastic change in the students' residential status? Well, but since that most of them will be applying to school places alongside their siblings, I believe there will be no major change. As for the cost of construction, well, it's comparable to other projects. We have recently submitted other projects, similar projects, such as those in Tung Chung and Kwu Tung North school projects, which would cost a bit higher. We have tried to understand why that's the case. Well, it's because the bedrock layer is very deep, and the soil's loading capacity is lower, and that's why we need to do more in civil engineering project. For Kwun Tong, the bedrock layer is also deep, and also there's a difference in levels of different parts of the site, and there's a need to build a semi-submerged basement. So $480 million is comparatively lower compared with other schools projects, but every project is different and because of the different geological conditions. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you, Chairman. With regard to this reprovisioning project of Looking To Primary School, I can offer my support. $408 million is the cost. If we look at the annex listing out the school projects since 2017, all of them will cost something like $400 million. I believe the current cost estimate is reasonable. I have a question about the cost control exercise of past reprovisioning projects. Did you manage to save in the course of construction. And I've looked at the layout and the design. There are many facilities such as playground and school assembly halls. Well, they are easily accessible by the public. We have been saying that we should encourage the use of such school facilities by NGOs and generally by the public. Would you encourage the school to do something along this line? Undersecretary, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your support, Mr. Leung. As for the cost of the project, as I've said, in terms of unit construction costs, and compare this with the recent similar projects, it's comparable. First of all, that we adopt a no-frills approach in this design of the school campus, and the facilities are basically on par with the standards for 30 classrooms school campus. And we also be coordinating closely with the ASD. We have been using a modular approach and standard design to try to compress project costs. And we will use modular components for the classrooms and other standard facilities. This would reduce costs. As for the opening up of the future campus, well, they would make reference to the recent guidelines offered by the Cultural, Sports and Tourism Bureau, so that different NGOs can apply for the use of their facilities. And also the school would organize exchange programs and also activities programs with other schools. And the school is willing to allow other parties to use their school facilities in the future. Mr. Lam Chan Singh, if we look at the Anderson Road neighborhood, the private housing will start to be completed in 2026, and the population intake will start in 2025-26. And the soonest we can get this new school is the second half of 2028. So it may not tie in with the population intake timeline. According to the district council, they discussed the project in 2022. At the time, it said that a funding application will be submitted in 2023. So we are now 2 years behind schedule. Are there any particular reasons for this delay of 2 years? The Undersecretary has talked about the policy on reprovisioning of existing schools. I want to understand more about the policy. There will be new development areas, the Kutong and other areas will all see the commencement of different projects. So can the pace be quickened in reprovisioning existing schools in the future to tie in with the NDA projects? In the past, when enrollment of students will be impacted for existing schools, when 2 new schools are built there, can you improve the efficiency of this program?
Undersecretary, thank you. As mentioned by the member, this project was put up for tender in the 4th quarter of 2024 with a design and build tender, and the assessment was completed in 2023. That was quarter four of 2022. Because the tender requirements were not met, the tender was withdrawn. Having assessed the situation carefully by the Architectural Services Department and also by the Committee on Tender, we are now only requiring the contractor to take up the building parts of the contract. Now, to save time, the ASD has completed the design internally to reduce the time required for engaging a consultant. Now, upon completion of the detailed design, the tender was put up again in the fourth quarter last year. We are now in the process of assessing the tender. Now, as long as there are suitable vacated school premises or sites for reprovisioning work, we will invoke the school allocation exercise immediately. Now, as mentioned by the member, we have conducted some cross-district reprovisioning. Schools were reprovisioned in another district. So in doing so, we have considered the situation of various districts and also views received from schools and the residents. Usually, when we decide to pursue cross-district reprovisioning, we would be putting up the vacated sites for application from school sponsoring bodies over the territory, but we would consider the availability of school places in the district and also the actual demand and supply situation in the district. Now, I can reassure the member that we will keep in close touch with the schools and the districts. We will also reach out more to school sponsoring bodies and school head associations. Do any other members need to press the button? If not, I will draw a line after Mr. Chu Kwok-keung has spoken. Mr. Chu Kwok-keung. Thank you, Chairman. Now, reprovisioning of the Luk Hing 2 primary school, I support the plan. But I would use the opportunity to say that there are many schools which really need a new school site. Now, there are several village schools. The school premises are 60 or 70 years old already. The facade of the walls are peeling, and there are a lot of water seepage on the ceiling. Now, for some schools, they don't need reprovisioning. They just need extra space to have a few more classrooms. Now, I've paid some visits to several special schools. Now, it is very difficult for students with special needs to have their lessons in matchbox school premises. So these schools really need reprovisioning. Now, according to the Education Bureau and your press release, you have not mentioned in situ reprovisioning. Now, I know that recently there is a primary school which cannot be reprovisioned because in situ reprovisioning was not allowed. Will the Education Bureau reconsider its position? Now, for cross-district reprovisioning, there are usually a lot of disputes and controversies. Now, the Education Bureau usually says that you have considered the enrollment competition in the districts, but however, after the reprovisioning cross-district, the existing schools in the district would cut the number of its classes because of insufficient enrollment. So why are you now reconsidering the possibility of cross-district reprovisioning? Thank you, Member, for your support on the reprovisioning project for Luk Hing 2 Primary School. concerning reprovisioning and upgrading school premises which are not up to standard, we have made some plans for upgrading substandard schools, in particular, matchbox school premises. Now, some school premises may not require in situ reprovisioning. They can apply for grants from the Education Bureau for major renovation works to improve their environment. For special schools, indeed, the reprovisioning mechanism for special schools is different from ordinary mainstream schools. Different types of special schools require different facilities, and they have different needs for the layout and design. And not all districts in Hong Kong have special schools. So in terms of considering reprovisioning these schools, we have to consider whether a certain type of special school would encounter enrollment difficulties if it is reprovisioned in a certain district. Now, concerning the issue of cross-district reprovisioning, we can't rule out the practice altogether. As I said, we will prioritize reprovisioning rather than establishing new schools. In new development areas, for example, the Northern Metropolis, these are major development projects. Now, we can't promise that the future schools in the new development areas will be moved from the same district. Now, for developed areas, it is very difficult to find available spaces for reprovisioning. It would reduce the likelihood for schools in developed areas to be reprovisioned. And there are indeed needs for more school premises in certain districts. Now, if we are just moving or reshuffling the school location in the same district, it would not help to meet the additional demand for school places. Of course, we understand that districts would like to prioritize the situation in the neighborhood. So we understand the stance of various of the residents in the districts concerning cross-district reprovisioning. Now, about improving the school premises for village schools. I only raise their cases because they failed to secure the grant for major renovation from you. Yes, I hope the EDB would pay more attention to village schools as well. Professor Priscilla Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the cost for reprovisioning this school is some $486 million. I believe that the project is justified. That's why the Education Bureau is proposing this project today. However, the cost is very steep. Yes, the cost has been reduced from $600 million to $400 million, but this is still an astronomical sum. With the technologies we have today, can we reduce the cost further? Now, will the school come with the AI facilities and the latest new technology features, for example, natural lighting and solar energy? Even with all these, this is still too steep a price for a primary school. Now, in paragraph 6 of the Annex 2, back in 2017, you began to allocate projects for reprovisioning. I was also in LegCo in 2017. At the time, with the atmosphere we had in the panel on education, the direction that the panel took was incorrect because of the then political atmosphere. So can you conduct a review on the decision made? I know that in the civil service you would follow in the steps of your predecessors. So would you consider a general overview or review of the decisions made, because we have enhanced our governance since then? Now, frankly speaking, the atmosphere in the then panel on education in 2017 was bad. The then electrical members were hijacking the meeting, and they always asked for more resources from the government. Now we need to correct the wrongs. We can't just spend $400 or $500 million on each school. Now there was a case where the project was rejected by the electrical at first, but then you proposed the project again and we passed it. Now we really need to conduct a rethink. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Professor Leung. Concerning the price tag of the project, I mentioned that we have taken out measures to keep the price down. In fact, the ASD is aware of members' concern on the cost of various projects. So the Development Bureau announced 4 measures to cut building costs. Now for common components like classrooms and toilets, we are using MIC to shorten the construction time and reduce the cost. Now, whether we really need to pursue certain reprovisioning projects, as mentioned by Professor Leung, now with the fiscal difficulty we are facing, we are now only prioritizing schools in new development areas, especially primary schools. Whenever feasible, we would like students to be able to go to primary schools near their homes. So that's why we are prioritizing schools in new development areas when we decide on new projects. Thank you. I'm the last one to speak. Now, according to the school allocation exercise principle, the Looking Tool Primary School was established in 1988. It has been 37 years on since then. So compared with other schools which are 40 years old, it is quite young. So what is the criteria for the allocation scheme? Now, the reprovisioning exercise are not bound by the district. So at first, I thought this school was in Kwun Tong as well. So it would affect the enrollment situation in Kwun Tong. So despite consulting the Sai Kung District Council, have you considered the Kwun Tong District Council? And more than 70% of students in this school will come from Tseung Kwan O. Now in the future, the students will have to climb the hill to Kwun Tong, and they have to go along the Po Lam North Road. Now there are altogether some 720 students in each grade, and there will be altogether some several thousand students going to school along Po Lam North Road. What is your consideration in terms of traffic? Thank you, Chairman, for your questions about our policy on reprovisioning. For example, this project at the school allocation exercise phase, invitation was extended to DSS schools and private schools as well. At present, the Looking to Primary School lacks basic facilities like science rooms and multi-purpose areas and so on. Now, for special areas like a staff room and music room and so on, they are substandard in terms of sizes. Now, in Sai Kung district, there are 26 public and DSS schools. Among them, schools smaller than 3,000 square meters in size and with an age of 30 years. These are the criteria. So Looking to Primary School is the only one which meets the above criterion. So the major consideration was upholding the teaching quality of the school and also the track record of the school sponsoring bodies. Now, the chairperson mentioned about the issue of students traveling to school. Now, for existing students in the Looking to Primary School, the students supported the reprovisioning plan. Now, after the school is moved to the Anderson Quarry Site, more students will be enrolled from the neighborhood. Now the school is located at Polam Estate, so most students are enrolled from Cheung Kwan O and Sai Kung districts. The school mainly served the children in the neighborhood. After the move, as the Anderson Road Quarry Site, I believe that the school will enroll more students from nearby. So I believe the situation mentioned by the chairperson will not come to exist. Fewer students will be re-enrolled from Cheung Kwan O and Sai Kung. The student source will be different in the future. We understand the situation at the road. That's why we want to build a school as the Anderson Road Quarry Site, because we've considered the distance between the sites and the center of Cheung Kwan O. Traffic is also in consideration. Thank you.
想幫呢間學校講，
Lastly, I want to say something on behalf of this school. It seems that, like the last school project, the school next to the school, there's a refuse collection point. Same for this project. Have you talked to the development bureau? Please don't locate a refuse collection point next to a new school. And this is a new development area. There's flexibility in citing different facilities. Would you talk to the bureau about this? Thank you for your comment. So members, so far I haven't heard any views opposing the project. Do members wish to say something about the project now? If not, then I think we are in support of the project proposal. And now we move on to the next item.
項目5係一
Item number 5. Proposed enhancement of directorate position in the Education Bureau. Members, please refer to CP3 601/2025-04. In accordance with Rules of Procedure 83A, if members have direct and indirect pecuniary interest in the discussion, please declare the nature of your interest before you speak. Today, we have Michelle Lee, Permanent Secretary for Education, and Deputy Secretary 3, Ms. Ida Lee and Dr. Verena Lau, Deputy Secretary for Education 4, and Dr. Gloria Chan, Deputy Secretary for Education. Well, we want to promote the education quality of and develop the the country into a leading country in education, we propose certain changes to the directorate staffing of the education. Retention of a 2-time limited supernumerary assistant director post, retitled as PAS, and also retention of 1-time limited supernumerary PEO post, and designated as a PEO special education for 5 years, and a conversion of 1 permanent non-civil service directorate position, D2 position, to a permanent assistant director of education or D2 equivalent education, which can be filled by both civil service and non-civil servants. And we are first of all talking about D2 posts on the school administration, and which will be responsible for the school governance and efficiency, such as national education, and also promoting policies of governance of schools. And secondly, we want to retitle another one as a PAS in Innovation Technology Education, mainly responsible for the implementing that digital education and enhanced development in digital education, and also conversion of PEO, supernumerary PEO, the post, and designated as a PEO special education to enhance school-parent collaboration. And lastly, we have want to change NCS D2 post into a permanent civil service D2 equivalent NCS position, which can be filled by both a civil servant and a non-civil servant, which will be responsible for teacher education and also to develop the relevant teaching material for teacher development. We are very concerned about the performance indicators. Therefore, we set out the 4 posts in the annexes. The current duties that they discharge and the future KPIs. I have to stress that all these are existing posts. The proposals will not result in any increase in the staffing of the Bureau. The Education Bureau has been reviewing our recurrent expenditure. We would try to achieve savings to tie in with government's financial arrangements. But at the same time, we insist on ensuring quality of education and also to facilitate the development of Hong Kong. I would call upon members to support all these staffing proposals on enhancement of directorate positions in the Education Bureau. Members, if you want to speak, please press the button now. Here are the members who would like to speak. Mr. Dang Fei, Mr. Dennis Leung, Deputy Chairman, Mrs. Regina Yip, and then Mr. Benson Look. And I will be the 5th one to speak. Mr. Dang Fei, I don't have any question. I have some suggestions with regard to the 4 directorate posts. You are just going to change the terms of employment. 2 are more important. First of all is the curriculum, director of curriculum, and the new post will be open for both inside and outside the civil service candidates. I hope the secretary can explain further, because in the civil service there are education officers and inspectors, etc. As for the outside the civil service, there are curriculum officers, etc. Well, those from outside the civil service can also be specialists. You should tell people more about the differentiation. It's not as simple as civil service vis-a-vis non-civil service. As for the PAS on innovation technology, this is also important. And we're not just looking at the KPIs, but the duties and the programs to be launched in the schools to help the schools adopt innovative technology so as to improve or enhance the teaching in schools. Deputy Secretary, Permanent Secretary, thank you. Actually, even if the new post is open to both civil service and non-civil service, we are going to insist on professionalism. We must get someone who has the relevant experience and knowledge to fill the post. So only those who are working in the education-related fields can fill the post. And we will always go for the best candidate. As for innovation, technology education, as we set out in Annex 5 and Annex 6, the posts would be responsible for teacher education and the promotion of digital education and new technology, and also the promotion of using AI or other innovative technology in teaching and also in administrative work. We also not just look at the local education scene. It would also involve collaboration with innovative technologies in Hong Kong as well as the relevant counterparts in the mainland. Mr. Dennis Leung, as the Permanent Secretary has said very clearly, the country is talking about developing the country into a leading country of education. So the paper proposes to retain 3 supernumerary posts. In the past few years, we have been seeing further increases in resources for the education sector. But in the future, the education sector is going to see some uncertainties. Why don't you turn these supernumerary posts into permanent ones? Then I can support all these proposals. Secondly, you are going to retitle certain posts. And I'm for it, especially for school governance and efficiency. Well, they are more suitable for the duties required. As for the training of school sponsoring or school boards and teachers, should there be any age limits? Not that senior people cannot discharge their duties, but we want to see the injection of new ideas. And also, are teachers required to sign certain pledges? I think we need to do certain things with regard to alumni associations and PTAs. And also agree to the retitling of the innovation technology education post. But I believe we should also strengthen vocational education so that we can have more technical people trained in technology. Hong Kong is a pluralistic society. You can see that Hong Kong athletes have achieved good results in major international competitions. Perhaps we should pay more attention to that development as well.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Dennis Leung. We are proposing to retain the position for 5 years. That's a decision made after careful consideration of our fiscal position. 5 years is an appropriate term. Now we would like to maintain the consistency and stability of the post. Now, besides taking stock of past experience, we also consider the future needs of our educational services. That's why new tasks are placed under the post. And also, training for school sponsoring bodies and school managers will be stepped up under the post. More patriotic figures will be trained up to lead the school sponsoring bodies with the right attitude. Now, in terms of the Curriculum Development Institute, the post holder will be dedicated to innovation technology education. Now, in terms of sports and culture and arts, and also job-related skills, for example, applied learning, these tasks would be taken up by another post holder. That is the PAS for curriculum development. So both roles will work closely together. Next, Mrs. Regina Ip. Thank you, Chairman. I've read the background of the paper. I find it very difficult to oppose to the proposals. Now, back in 2019, I was a member of the panel on education. I might even have been the chairperson of the panel and the establishment subcommittee. Now, the major difference is that the post has changed its name, and also the Assistant Director of Education. This post can be held by non-civil servants. I think this is a good thing because we need to attract more diversified talents into the government. Now, about the PAS for Innovation Technology Education. Will this post be filled by administrative officers or education officers? Why don't we fill this post by someone who specializes in AI and innovation technology? I wonder if there are anyone fit for this post within the government. Permanent Secretary. This is a professional grade, so it will not be filled by, say, AO. The post holder must have in-depth knowledge on teaching and learning resources and education training. So we need someone from the educational background to fill the post. At the same time, the post will be a bridge between the government and the education sector, including the tertiary education sector, to press ahead with innovation technology education. So the post holder must be a degree holder in innovation technology as well. So we will make sure that the capabilities of the post holder can meet the requirements. Yes, I agree with Mr. Dennis Leung's suggestion that you should have made this proposal a permanent position. But I know you have to meet the KPI, so you are pitching the post as a supernumerary position. Now, with the resources we are dedicating to this, we need to have KPIs. By how far can we enhance the governance efficiency in schools, and by how much we can enhance innovation technology education? We need KPIs. Just now, the Secretary said that education is a long-term business and we cannot have short-term KPIs, but I really do hope that you can give me KPIs on these few positions. Yes, I agree with Mrs. Regina Ip's suggestions. That's why in our annexes, we have listed out the KPIs fulfillment situation of the post in the past few years. Now, only 10 minutes are left in the meeting, so I will extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Also, are there any members who still haven't pressed the button? If not, I will draw a line here. Next, Mr. Benson Look. Thank you, Chairman. In principle, I support the proposals. Now, it is quite rare for the Education Bureau or the government to explain the terms of reference and the scope of work for these few posts, for these few posts with a 30-page thick paper. That is admirable. I agree with Mrs. Regina Ip. If the fiscal position is stronger, we should have made these posts permanent. They are necessary in the long run. Now my question is about the renaming of PAS curriculum support to PAS Innovation Technology Education. As the Permanent Secretary explained, it is to more accurately describe the task of this PAS. Now about the new duties under this post, there are several. For example, promoting I&T learning at school and also strengthening the connections and integration of AI with education and teaching. Now, in the past, the traditional blackboard approach has changed since we had PowerPoint presentation in 2000 and then more educational videos in the 2010s. Now, for AI, it doesn't just enhance teaching motives. It is changing the foundation of education from its foundation. Now, actually, AI can answer many of your questions instead of teachers. So, under the new duties of the PAS, you're just saying that you will use AI as an teaching assistance tool. I don't think that is reformative enough. So in terms of AI teaching, are there any KPIs for this PAS to meet? Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. The development of technology is in leaps and bounds, and the development of AI has far-reaching impacts in various fields. Now, in terms of AI teaching and teaching and learning resources to promote AI reform in AI learning, and also teaching quality, the PAS is very important. Now, earlier on this year, the Steering Committee on Strategic Development of Digital Education is for ensuring that Hong Kong can keep up with the global trend and the nation's drive to adopt AI. Now, AI will facilitate and enable more self-learning in terms of language subjects and science subjects. AI can double up as teachers to help students learning. There is unlimited possibilities in the future for AI. So this colleague will have to steer development of AI education internally and foster collaboration with the private sector. The post holder will ensure that there are sufficient hardware and software support to use AI as a pillar of the education system. So we are learning along the way because things changed very fast in AI. But the key is we need to have a leader to pull together resources in society to promote AI education. Next, Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. About the retention of these posts and the renaming of the posts, I support the proposals. This will help us focus more keenly on the future of education. It also tell us what kinds of reform we need in the future in terms of education. These are very important posts, but I am worried because from the work scopes, I can see that these posts are mainly for supporting, coordinating, and promoting, monitoring, and supervising the work. Now, for these directorate grade post holders, honestly speaking, besides execution, we would want them to offer innovative and trailblazing views for us. If they are just following in the steps of the predecessors, I would be worried, especially integrated education. It has been implemented for many years, but still there are a lot of inadequacies. With the money spent, we wanted to see something better. Now, education is something that we will be committed to, despite the substantial investment. But we have to be sure that the investments we are making can reach the students and are useful for the future of our society. So we need to have a clear goal for our education system. So I hope that these post holders will not just be executives which execute the plans. They need to be innovative and groundbreaking. I think Ms. Lillian Kwok speaks for many educators. We need to ensure that these post holders are capable of driving a change. Thank you, Ms. Lillian Kwok, for your views and questions. Now, these posts will be responsible for driving and steering reviews and changes, especially for special education and integrated education. Say, for example, in Annex 3, this is the job description for the principal education officer. One of the criteria, one of the requirements is to review what has been done and whether they are up to date. And upon the review, the post holder need to formulate and steer the delivery of the policies. So the post holders will definitely work together with the trade to deliver. Professor Priscilla Leung. Chairman, I speak in support of the proposals. Specifically speaking, in terms of special education, I am of the view that the post is very important because care and love is needed. There are so many cases at hand, and we need to make sure that they don't turn into tragedies. I would like to give the Permanent Secretary some time to talk about the PAS in charge for curriculum development. Now, originally, the director for the Curriculum Development Institute, or the head of the CDI, is a non-civil servant position. Now, has this been done by other bureaus that is changing non-civil service position to civil service position? Now, the idea was to introduce more talents from outside the establishments to enrich your decisions. Now, after the proposal is passed, will you only recruit someone from the civil service to fill the post, or are you going to open it up for the public?
嘅提問啦。
Thank you, Mrs. Lau, for your question. I can provide some background information. Back in 1992, when the Curriculum Development Institute was set up, this is the leader. We wanted to have a non-civil servant holding the post because we wanted new ideas, so that we can have new blood regularly. And now more than 30 years has passed. Well, we agree that we need to get someone who is a professional, who must be very knowledgeable and experienced in teaching and curriculum. And this time, we want to open up this recruitment so that we can get the best people for the job. It can be done by open recruitment and internal selection. Both civil servants and non-civil servants can apply, and then we can choose the best one for the post. But if for a certain short period of time we cannot get the right candidate, we may get a civil servant to take the post on a temporary basis so that it will not be left vacant. The member asked whether other bureaus are doing similar things. Well, we have set out an example in the paper, and that is Annex 2 or Note 2 in the paper with regard to posts approved by the FC. There are certain similar posts created with the approval of LegCo, which can be filled by both civil servants and non-civil servants. For example, in the Department of Health, they have a new post for the regulation of medical products. So we're not proposing anything new. Well, the CDI was set up in 1992. It used to be headed by a non-civil service, and now we're proposing to open it up like some other bureaus. Thank you. It's now my turn. I would like to ask a similar follow-up question, as the Permanent Secretary has said. Well, back then, in 1992, the Curriculum Development Institute was set up. It was the era of Mr. Lei Yuting as Director of Education. And then it was said that the head should be a non-civil service, and half of the staff should also be non-civil service. Is it the case that now that half of the staff in the CDI are non-civil servants? And now you want to turn this post into one that can be filled by both a civil servant and a non-civil servants. According to the education sector, this may be a retrograde step. In 2003, the Education Department and the Education Bureau were combined. And after so many years have passed, you are still calling the post a Director of Education, Assistant Director of Education. That's the title when we had the Department of Education. And also for the new D2 post on Innovation Technology Education. And we have been promoting AI and technology in primary schools and secondary schools, but I have looked at the duties to be discharged. There's no interdepartmental collaboration. How can we implement or achieve the objective of of multi-pronged approach in the development of IT education, because we need to involve different parties in this important mission. Well, the chairman has been a very meticulous reader of the paper. The CDI was set up in 1992. The composition of the staff is half and half. 50% of them are not civil servants. So this is the ratio at the present moment. And that is non-civil servants are recruited to fill the post of CDI. As to whether the proposed change now is a retrograde step, I don't think so, because we want to go for the best candidate. We want to get the most suitable person to fill the post, whether he or she is a civil servant or non-civil servant. In 2003, when the department and the bureau were combined, why do we still call this post a Director of Education post? Well, we need to talk to the Civil Service Bureau, because this is a reflection of the post, the name of the post. We now have PAS. So perhaps we need to change the name, the titles of the posts of Director of Education as a consequence of the merger. As for the PAS, Innovation, Technology, Education, please refer to Annex 2.6. The post holder will have to liaise with different stakeholders, including other bureaus and departments. Actually, the professional people working in this particular section would talk to the other people, particularly those in the IT bureau, I&T bureau rather. As Mrs. Yip has said, that this will be a post to be filled by a non-civil servants first of all, and only if you fail to get a suitable candidate, that a civil servant will be asked to fill the post. Because back then, we wanted to ensure that there will be innovation in the CDI, and I believe we still need innovation now. I think Mrs. Leung would like us to further elaborate the recruitment. The post will be open to both civil servants and non-civil servants, and we'll try to select the best candidate. And if the recruitment doesn't result in the selection of the suitable candidate, we may be able to arrange for a civil servant to fill in. The universities, the teacher training institutions, Hong Kong U, Baptist U, Education Bureau, they also have lots of qualified people there. And I believe they should be encouraged to apply. All right. So that concludes our discussion. So far, we haven't seen I haven't heard any opposition to the proposal. So if not, then I would say that the panel supports the submission of the proposal to the ESC. Let's now move on to item 6, ALB. Any item under ALB from members here? If not, I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you.